Children of the night, what beautiful sounds they make. Ha 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 ha. What's going on, everybody? The Scene Snob here, back with another Scene Snob reviews, and I am doing, of course, if you haven't gotten it from the doll in the first part, where I was trying to make you laugh, I'm doing Dracula, the BBC and Netflix show, which is the showrunners are Stephen Moffat and Mark Gatiss, and you may remember them from Doctor Who, Sherlock. They've been around, so go check out their work because they're always talented, and they're very talented on this series. Now, I want to preface some things before I get into my spiel about what I thought of everything, and I want to say, one, this is going to be a spoiler review. So if you haven't watched it yet, please come back after you check it out. If you don't mind spoilers and you want to watch it, by all means check it out. Maybe it'll push you to go see it. Maybe it won't. I understand. But I don't want to spoil anything for you if you don't want it spoiled. So, with that being said, give us a like and subscribe, and definitely come back and check out my review after you go and check it out. And if you disagree with it, comment below and just let me know what you thought, because I love to hear what everybody thinks and kind of go back and forth, and maybe you'll change my mind on something that I was not aware of when I watched it the first time. So yeah, I do love to hear everybody's opinion. So, but like I said, on the YouTube channel, like and subscribe and hit that notification button, because we always, every week, we have content. We have stuff coming out. We have reviews. We have another review show starting. We have 3 podcasts. We have Marriage Like That podcast, the Scene Snobs podcast, which is our flagship show, the 20-minute wrestling podcast. So if you're into wrestling, check it out. We have the Scene Snob reviews. We have prediction shows, things like that. All this different stuff going on. Panels that are going to be starting for different events, like TV or movie events, stuff like that. We are going to be doing a brand new review show, the Mr. Scene Snob and I, where we review what's considered really bad movies and check them out for ourselves and see what we think. So, like 0% on Rotten Tomato stuff, things like that, and kind of go from there. But it's very pick a name out of the hat thing. So come and check that out when it starts. We're going to have a Cult Classics podcast going up. We're going to have a filmmaking podcast going up where we talk to filmmakers. We have lots of interviews coming, starting at the end of the month. We have a sports show in the works. So please come check us out. Make sure you like and subscribe. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at The Scene Snob. Go to Facebook. Follow The Scene Snob's page. It's all going to be on there. You're going to have news whenever you want it, and you're going to have content popping up if you want to see it. So please check it out. But more importantly, the main hub is thescenesnobs.com. So that's what I'm going to say about that. Now, here's my review of Dracula. Like I said, spoilers. So if you want to check out now, go for it, and then come back later and let me know what you think. So here it is. We have a new interpretation of Dracula that is faithful in parts, but then kind of goes all over the place. But I like some of it. I like where it went. There's some things about it I didn't like. So let's start from the beginning. So we have Dracula played by Claes Bang. Very cool name, by the way. I've never seen him before. I'd like to check out what else he's done. But he fits the mold. He really does. And now I want to preface this too. Is like Bela Lugosi Dracula is one of my favorite movies of all time. I love that movie. It was like one of the first horror movies I've ever seen. I still think it holds up today. Not generationally. Not saying like, oh yeah, okay, everything, all the themes, everything work today. But I will say, as a film, I think it works. I think like there's some really cool stuff that was done in that movie that when you watch it today, you can appreciate how good of a film this is. And not all older movies can say that. Not all of them hold up like that. But I think Dracula definitely does. Frankenstein being another one. But I think even Dracula holds up better than Frankenstein in some ways. That's a debate for another time. This is my review of Dracula. Now, the reason I say that is I also loved Christopher Lee Draculas. Frank Langella Draculas, going through the generations. One I was not a big fan of, not to say I was not a fan of the performance of Dracula in this movie, was Coppola's Bram Stoker's Dracula. Now I appreciate, that it stayed as faithful as it could to the book. I didn't love it. It's not one that I've returned to often to go and check out, but I don't think it's a bad movie. It just didn't resonate with me. So that's why I say, I always try and look for merit in everything I watch. What was this? What stood out? What made this work? Or, a lot of times some things just don't work. But for me, it was what makes this work? And I try to look for that because I don't want to be the pessimistic reviewer. I don't want somebody to come and see my reviews and say, all this guy does is trash everything. No, I don't want that because I think there is merit in every work. I think whether it's even a hardworking film crew or things like that, you can appreciate something that a movie put out. Not always true. Not always true. And I have, again, for another show, probably the Scene Snobs podcast might be a good topic, but there are things that I don't think hold any merit, and I don't think that they were done for the right reasons or with the right artistic value. But that being said, I do think Bram Stoker's Dracula is a good movie. I just don't see how it holds up to some of the better versions of Dracula. Gary Oldman's performance is probably what makes that the more outstanding than I think it actually is. And he deserves his accolades. He's a brilliant actor. But the reason I wanted to say this about that version is because I know it's a beloved version, but I wanted to tell you where I'm coming from when I got into this. And the thing I liked about it is they kind of took from everything, all the famous Dracula versions. And with that being said, Claes Bang looks a lot, in certain parts, he looks a lot like all of them. In the first episode, it's the castle. Jonathan Harker comes. It's his lawyers getting them all set up to move to England. But Harker is going to be there for a month. And the reason being is because he's going to suck the life force, the blood from Harker, and he's going to make himself younger and younger so he can make that trip. And he kind of, in a way, is torturing Harker, but almost in a way out of love. There's a lot of metaphorical type of storytelling in this show, and it was cool. I really enjoyed it because the whole story is being told from the point of view of what Harker can remember. He is now in a I don't want to say mental hospital, but he's being interviewed by two nuns. So in a Catholic monastery type, they're just trying to help him. Because they found him in a river somewhere in Romania. So they're interviewing him the whole time, and he's telling the story of having been with Dracula and what he's finding. And every day he's traveling around the castle and he can't find his way around, and it's the whole thing is like a maze, and which is what it was built for. And Dracula is every night he is kind of more and more slowly torturing Jonathan Harker, and Jonathan Harker's getting a little worse for the wear every day, getting sick, and Dracula, of course, getting younger every day as they go on because he's feeding off of Harker. I thought it was a cool idea. I like how they played it out, the whole thing, and where it ends up. So basically it comes into play. Harker escapes, but before he gets there, you see, he finds everything. He finds Dracula's brides, which is a twisted, weird vibe on it. And also there's zombie type vampires. Basically they call them the undead in that. And they're not mindless, but when you die, you are not necessarily dead. You can be undead, but not a vampire. It's almost not saying that they're straight up zombies. They're not played, but they look like them a little bit. So, and you will see for yourself if you've watched the show. And so, like, Harker finds a bunch of them kind of locked up. These are other travelers that have come through, other victims that Dracula has taken and such. And, he has his brides. He locks his brides away, and Harker lets one out, and she's, like, ready to go, and she attacks Harker. And then he gets locked in a box with a baby, like, undead thing. And you find out that, like, Dracula's trying to sort of create a family, the best way he can, I guess. And it's kind of an undead type family. And but anyway, so he goes on, and Harker winds up escaping. He gets away, but he gets away by falling off of the castle into a river, and they find him upriver, and that's how he gets to that monastery. So as they go on, now he's at the monastery. He's told a story. The nuns are trying to find out. There's one nun, Sister Agatha, who is badgering him for the story, and she's like, she's trying to get the truth from him. And you find out that he can't remember everything. He's trying to remember how he got there, and what's going on. And so, like, Dracula shows up at the monastery. Very cool scene. The whole thing was cool. Shows up as a wolf, so you got the transformation feel, which in the in the movies and always been in the book and the lore and such. He gets invited in. He winds up getting invited in by Harker himself. That was where it was at. Like, that's what it was for. He let him go so he can get invited in. And Harker invited him into this monastery, and you find out that Sister Agatha is Agatha Van Helsing. She is the famous Van Helsing that is, she is a sister, she is a nun, but she is the famous Van Helsing that has not going after particularly Dracula. She knows of Dracula, knows of the lore, and is one he's going after, but she is always looking for the dead. Like, she's not so much the famous vampire killer as she is the vampire hunter, to learn more about them, learn more about the death, trying to find God almost in all of this craziness. So it's a very cool scene, and it ends in a way that kind of like she, and you find out the other nun that she was with was Jonathan Harker's fiance. She was trying to had her there to kind of help bring him along with memories and stuff like that. So they go through. Dracula's in there, has them cornered, and that episode ends. Picks up on the next episode. Now, this always intrigued me. In the book, in the movies, the boat ride Dracula took from Romania to England. It's always, in every version, just like the boat shows up at England and everybody's dead. And there's boxes of dirt. And you never really find out anymore. So this one was, and kind of speed up on things because I know I'm going long, is this follows the whole boat ride. That's the whole show is. This whole episode is the boat ride. And it becomes a whodunit because Dracula's killing people and all the other passengers, but he's playing along, like he's along with everybody, and he's like, pointing fingers, and like he is, we know, the killer, but they're playing whodunit and trying to figure out who the killer actually is. And there's a very cool cast of characters, very Murder on the Orient Express type of vibe, in terms of the whodunit. So you follow this whole trip, and as he's doing it, he's playing a chess game with Van Helsing, and she's sitting with her, and they're having the talk, and he's talking about his time on the boat, and he's telling her, this is why I do this. And it's a very cool feature in it is he takes almost like, I don't want to say the personality, but he takes certain attributes of the people that he takes blood from. So if he takes it from a socialite, or he takes it from a scholar, or things like that, he kind of adopts that. Like if he takes it from somebody, a man of science, he will become good at science. Like, he will have a better understanding of science, things like that. So I thought that was really cool how they did that. And gave it more of a why he's on this boat. Like, because there are some scholars, some upper class people were on there and stuff. So, and they all had, and you find out he orchestrated the entire thing. He, with another name, had them all come onto the boat. So he basically had picked out his buffet of people, his whole meal, so he could get their attributes by one killing them. And I thought that was a very cool vibe on the whole thing. And how he set everything up was really cool. So the whole episode, my only problem with the episode was I felt like it dragged on too long. Like it was an hour and a half, but like the first episode felt like it went by quick. The second episode felt like it went real long. And then the third episode felt like it went by quick. And then getting to the third episode, it felt like it went by quick, but I felt like I didn't get enough. Like, you showed me things I didn't think I really needed, aspects of the story I didn't really think I needed, and then other aspects that I wish I had got, that I had gotten that weren't there. But that's just that. But like, so that was the whodunit and the whole thing, and you find out that Van Helsing is actually being is on the boat too. He is like mind melded with her, connected with her, and that's why they can play chess together. But and she wakes up, she's on the boat, they kind of bring her on, she tells him he's a vampire, blah 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 blah. So I thought it was a very cool episode. Like I said, that's the only one I thought dragged on a little bit, whereas the first episode was a very good episode. I thought there were some aspects like the zombie baby, things like that, I was like, I didn't really need. Not because it was disgusting or anything. I thought, like, whatever, it all looked cool, but I was like, it's just other aspects. Like, if you're not really going to introduce the brides, don't introduce me to the concept of the brides. Like, either have the brides or don't, don't, or explain why you always have different brides or whatever else. But, like, they never really touch down on it. Well, they do touch down on it, but they never really go in depth, which I thought they should have, if they were going to, introduce them like they did. Now with that, we get to the third episode. Now, at the end of the second episode, he's in his crate with his soil, locked at the bottom of the ocean because the boat went down. They decided to blow up the boat, and he got washed down at the bottom of the ocean. And he knew he had to go into the soil to sleep to heal himself. Wakes up, gets out of the soil, climbs on the land. Boom. He is in modern day 2019 England. And you just assume he slept that long. So he does that, and then Sister Agatha shows up. She's got like this elite team of mercenaries around her. And she's with something called the Harker Foundation, which, of course, Mia Harker started. So you kind of go through, you flash forward. Next episode is him kind of getting used to being a part of 2019. And that's the whole episode in a nutshell. But what happens in the episode is, like, he gets taken by the Harker Foundation. He's getting tested. He's gonna, at first he gets away, and then he's, you find out it's not Sister Agatha, it's her descendant, her like niece, her great grandniece or whatever, but looks just like her. It's a whole thing, and has her memories because they've both been bitten by Dracula. They both drank Dracula's blood, so that's why they can connect with each other. Again, it's not really fleshed out other than through dialogue, and I didn't love that. Like, I thought that would have been better explained if you took your time. Harker Foundation I thought was cool. Somebody to fight Dracula was waiting for him. It's actually more of a Van Helsing than Sister Agatha was, but whatever. I still dug it. I thought it was really cool. And I also like that they had him trapped, and his way out was he had Mark Gatiss played him, Renfield, who was his lawyer through the Harker law firm from back in the day, still alive and going. He is still his lawyer. So he still has a lawyer from all the way back in 1897 when he hired him. And he shows up, gets him out. Now Dracula's living free. And he's got Tinder, and he's got all these other dating sites and things like that to meet as many victims as he can. And then they introduce another doctor, Jack, who works for the Harker Foundation. And has an unrequited love with another girl who is like an Instagram model. And that was the whole thing. That just didn't, I thought that could have been better. I didn't think I really needed that. She falls for Dracula. He falls for her because she has no fear of death, basically, is what it's coming down to. And he's sucking her dry, sucking her blood dry in it. And she's into it. She likes it. And then finally he kills her and she gets cremated. And that was a cool little scene where she gets cremated, but she's not dead because she's a vampire. But if you get cremated, what happens to you, to your body, that's what you are. So she's a hideous mess now because she's been burned. And she goes, finds Dracula. He still thinks she's beautiful. But they do the whole thing where like Jack is actually in love with her and saves her by killing her because she can't stand not being beautiful anymore. And then you have Dracula and Van Helsing. They kind of have their last stand. She pulls down the curtain. Sunlight shines on him. She realizes like nothing, the mirror effect that you don't see your reflection, the being invited in, sunlight, all that stuff, all the vampire lore doesn't exist. You created it through years of drinking people's blood, the cross, everything. Drinking people's blood who were fearful of those things, who feared God, who feared this, feared that, or believed in these vampire lore. So him doing that, which I thought was a cool, like, kind of turn things around, you know, or bring that back, a callback to that, was the fact that all of these things for years and years, 500 years, led him to fear these things. So I thought that was very cool way they went about it, and that's why he always feared, and like he always had to wait to be invited in, and he was afraid of crosses and never went in sunlight. But actually, it couldn't hurt him. Like none of it was real. And then she realized, the thing you were most afraid of was dying, and then they do this whole thing. It was a very weird ending where she's dying of cancer anyway, so they kind of die together and they're in the sun, and I know it was very metaphorical and I got it, but at the same time I was like, I didn't need this. I know it was a mini series. I don't know if they're coming back to season 2. I suppose if it does well, they will. But I will say there were some high points to it. It's probably worth checking out. The horror of it was pretty cool. That last episode was kind of hit or miss for me. I didn't love it. I didn't think it was a very good ending to where we started. The second episode was really cool. I love the whodunit aspect. I really thought for a beginning when he got taken in by the Harker Foundation, they were going to turn this into like a CSI, like Dracula. Like Dracula is now joining the Harker Foundation and he's going to help stop monsters. I really thought that for a little while. And that might have been a little bit cooler than the ending we got. So I get the metaphorical ending, the fear of death, things like that. I don't know that I just didn't love it. I didn't love it. And I think if I walked away unfulfilled by it, it was probably a miss. Not probably, it was a miss for me. So I wish it was better, but I would give Dracula probably 3 out of 5 stars. And, if you're into Dracula, definitely check it out. But overall, I don't think it's a show I'm probably going to revisit. If I'll check out a season 2 if it comes out, because I do love these writers. But I don't know that I will stick with it. If it's still on the same par as this last episode, I don't know that I'm going to be a big fan. But let me know what you think. So if you've checked it out or you're going to check it out, watch it, comment. Maybe I missed something. Maybe I'm a little dense in this area with the last episode, and I'd love to hear what you guys think. So comment below, message me, whatever. Let's get into a conversation. I want to hear it. Or if you agree with me, let's talk about that. Why do you agree with me? What didn't you like? What did you like? Those aspects. I'd love to hear it. So, and again, check out thescenesnobs.com. That's where all the content is. Again, we always have videos, podcasts, things like that always coming out. We'd love to hear from you. Let us know what you think of all of them. Give us a like and subscribe, and hit that notification button right here on YouTube, and so you can get all our content that comes out weekly. We have multiple shows and such. Check out check out Instagram and Twitter at The Scene Snob, and also check out The Scene Snob's Facebook page. Very much appreciate you guys checking this out. I will be back with another Scene Snob reviews very, very soon. I'm thinking Bad Boys for Life. But if not, I will make sure I do something soon. All right. And check out 20 Minute Wrestling Podcast tomorrow on Monday. And check out the Scene Snobs podcast, which will be coming out this Wednesday. Thanks very much. Have a good one.